Alright, hi guys, for anyone that's already here watching. Today I have the Highway 1 RC truck build that I am commissioned to work on. But in bigger news, thanks a lot for 1,000 subscribers. It's been a really big milestone to hit, and it's nice to be able to make some money back from all of the time that I've spent making all these videos for the channel. I know that 88% of the people watching the channel right now aren't subscribed, but for all of those of you that are, thanks very much. I'll try to reply to any comments that I see pop up here, but they're on the computer across the room. So, a little bit about the truck build. I have had this since about the beginning of the summer, and I have not gotten a lot done on it, but I do have it at this point. It came as an ECX Barrage, pretty much stock, except for these wheels and tires were on it, and they really did not fit very well. So one of the things that I have to do today is put some new hubs on these to narrow them to fit this body, since the axles are a little wide for my preference on this. But narrowing those axles should make it look a lot better. The reason this truck has been progressing slowly is because I've been working on the custom chassis for the CR12, which is actually what this is sitting on. It's for the CR12, but mainly to suit the Clodbuster body. So I figured it would be a lot better setup for him to get on this custom chassis rather than trying to work off of the ECX Barrage. I'll go ahead and show that to you guys. So this is an older version. I still have to cut the final version for him, but this is what we have so far. One thing I did do is I have the Barrage shocks from him on one of my trucks, so he got the CR12 shocks, which in turn are a little bit shorter, and we also removed the springs for a droop setup. He wanted to build this like a farm truck, so we're going for a very scale look on this one. You can tell my old PLA printed parts on here, they're gray. I do have one PETG piece in the back here. Well, all of these will eventually be PETG for the reason of heat resistance, because PLA is not very resistant to heat, and he's in California, so that would not be a good thing, I don't think. Trying to get my comment reader to turn on. iPad back here. But so continuing on the rundown of what's happened with this truck is I started out by making custom hubs for it, and those helped with the issue that when I got this truck, the wheels on it were all wobbly because the wheel nuts couldn't clamp down on the wheels because of the axle shafts don't have the threads don't continue far enough down them. So I made some thicker wheel spacers, but now I have some narrow ones, and I might have to go through some of these axles because there's a lot of friction in this back one. But beyond that, I've also done the links for this. So all the links are done by me. They'll be coming off and getting sanded to look good when I go back through and I'll put the new chassis on. This chassis is just bare. It's not sanded down to look good or anything, because basically everything you see here is going to be replaced. It's just kind of mocked up right now. So once I get the new chassis cut, I will replace it on here, and everything will look a lot better, probably. But having him being on the same chassis will just be easier if he ever wants to upgrade or anything like that, because I already have it all ready for it. Another thing we're probably going to end up doing on this truck is adding a front bumper because it doesn't have front bumper yet, but I can go ahead and show you guys the really narrow hubs that I have for this. Just 1/8" aluminum, and this is going to fit on these RC 4-wheel drive wheels, and these are 1.55s as well as 1.55 dirt grabber tires. So let's set the body on here. So there you go. I do see a comment on the computer. I'm going to go read a second. Whiplash RC, hello, and thanks for the congratulations. It was pretty exciting to see that. I was really watching it the night that it hit it. I think I saw it the morning after. But, yeah, it's been quite some time. I don't even remember how many years I've been doing this. But, really started to take off. So, definitely interesting to actually experience the fact that the subscriber gain really increases as you get higher numbers. The number of subscribers you get increases with that number, so the larger you are, the faster you grow, I guess. So any of the small channels out there, just keep working at it. Being in the hobby where most of the stuff that we do is how-to, we're not going to gain a lot of subscribers very quickly like a vlogging channel would, because this isn't the kind of topic that a lot of people follow. I mean, a lot of people do follow the RC stuff, but most of the people are just going to be searching how to do this, how to do that, and that's where a lot of the views that these channels are getting come from. So unless I decide to install these hubs on camera, that's pretty much all I got for this truck. The goal is to just make it look very stock. The only thing I really have left to figure out with it, aside from our front bumper, is the front track bar link, because right now this is 4-linked in the front, and I have tested it and powered it up, and the axle moves side to side a little bit, which kind of bothers me a little bit. But once I get the rest of the cross members in the frame, maybe it'll stiffen it up and that won't be an issue. But until then, I'm planning on installing a track bar, just because of the fact that having a track bar with chassis mounted steering really improves the setup by many, many times. You can really see that on the CR12s. So that's one of the other things I can talk about tonight. I got custom wheels, the custom chassis CR12 you guys haven't seen yet. And CR12 upgrades. I got some big things coming for that. But back to these hubs. Since these are only 1/8 of an inch, this will definitely cause that wobbling issue that I was talking about. And the issue with the wobble is that on your axle shaft you have a certain amount of thread. Say the thread goes to here, and you screw the axle nut all the way down to here on the shaft, then you're going to have all this wobble because the wheel nut's only screwed down till there. So that's what these spacers are for, so that the wheel nut will tighten all the way up against the spacer, and then there's no wobble. And I do have one of these pieces 3D printed on the truck already, which would be, actually, I have one of the aluminum ones installed on here already, which is right here. So you can see that aluminum spacer. It does look like a giant manual locking hub, but that's kind of what's necessary to get as narrow of a stance as we're trying to achieve with this, because you don't see farm trucks with massive offsets on them. And really, I prefer the narrow stock look, so that's what we're working for here. And I still have to come up with a mount for the barrage transmission. because of the fact that my custom chassis is designed around the Axial AX10 transmission, I think this 390 size motor will push it around okay, but for my application, the 540 size motor really works well. Hi Dad, thanks for watching. For any of you that are curious, my dad is Jeff X in the comments. He says, nice Prusa printer. Yes, this is my printer. I have another one to build still, and it's been treating me well. If you're looking for a 3D printer that you're not going to have to mess with every time you want to print, and something that's just going to be turnkey essentially, you walk over to it. Once you get your settings dialed in for it, no issues really. I've had one clog, and that is the only issue I've really had. Very happy with it, and I don't really see myself buying a different brand of printer. This one has just treated me so well. So, let's see. I can go ahead and play for you guys. One second. Whiplash RC says it's not easy. Yep, it is not easy pushing through the years of getting to this point. It's not easy right now competing with some of the bigger channels. The big thing that I found with YouTube's algorithms is to keep posting videos. This summer, when I started posting videos again for that week there, I had videos almost every day. When you're posting videos, all of your other videos seem to get recommended to people. So when your videos are getting recommended to people, you get more new viewers, new subscribers, and even some of the regular subscribers will start returning again. But definitely good to keep uploading. I'm trying to work on that, but usually I just get so caught up in making parts and pieces. The workbench never is this clean. It's always just covered in parts. So, yep, this is a Highway 1 RC truck. Should be getting wrapped up pretty quickly here, as long as I can work out a mount for this and a battery tray that'll work out around that. The next big thing I have to talk about is the custom chassis that I've been working on for the Team Associated CR12. I'm calling it the Terramite chassis, as in terrain and mighty, because I kind of think of this as like a little mighty truck because of how small it is and how capable it is. I'll bring my TRX4 over here to give you a size comparison, because it is kind of deceiving seeing this truck. If you do know how big a Clodbuster body is, it is not a large truck. So there you go. That is kind of the size comparison. The TRX4 really dwarfs this truck in size, and in reality the TRX4 really, I haven't measured it yet, but to the specs I do believe it is larger than 10th scale. Everything about it just says that it's a larger truck. I did do the math on this though. This is 1/11th scale, so it is kind of in the realm, but the issue with marketing it as 10th scale is most of the trucks that are marketed as 10th scale are really getting to be larger and larger and larger trucks. So this is kind of a refreshing, smaller truck to drive. It's a lot of fun and really capable. If you guys have seen the running video of it, I was really impressed with it once I put the AX10 transmission into it. As you can tell by the body, I have really been beating this truck, trying to break parts, because I would rather break parts than have it happen to customers. So this will be available eventually, probably in the near future. I'll just run you through the setup on my truck here. Basically, what's going on is Hi-Tech Servo. This is a servo winch made by my friend Ty in Indiana. His Facebook page is Trust Ty Customs. I don't think he has a website yet, but Trust Ty Customs on Facebook. That is where I got this winch from. He's kind of semi-local to me, and this winch would easily lift this truck. It's just very, very strong. And I also have my custom winch bumper here, which is kind of getting pushed back at this point from getting pushed on rocks and stuff, but nonetheless, you can tell how it's been getting used. This is a Tekin 35 turn brushed motor. I've never tried brushless yet, but if you would highly recommend it, let me know, because I really do enjoy the brush setups. Just a good amount of torque. I never really have issues with them. I know how to replace the brushes. It is also on a Tekin FXR. This is the stock ESC from the CR12, and I'm using that to power my servo winch since it does need an external controller, but it is a really bulky ESC. And this is a 5,000 milliamp 2S LiPo that I run in all of my scalers. And then the battery box, or the receiver box, is mounted over here around the spur gear. I'll pull this battery out so we can look at things a little bit closer. So the way the AX10 transmission is mounted in here is a very interesting setup compared to how you would normally see it set up in, say, an SCX10. 1 second, let's see another comment. Okay, sorry about that. Knocked the camera over to go walk over to the computer, see what everybody's talking about. Bull Gear RC, how's it been? Haven't talked to you in a while. And yes, it does need a snowplow. For those of you that don't know, I really love snow plowing with these trucks. Not this one specifically. I normally use my Trail Finder, but everything on my Trail Finder has gotten pretty sloppy over the years because of the constant back and forth and back and forth. It probably has more hours on it being used as a snowplow truck than it does actually being driven. But yeah, snowplowing can be a lot of fun, especially if you can stay inside. So the way this transmission is set up, let me bring it over to you, is normally the motor would sit right over in this area, but I have set up this custom motor mount plate, which is very similar to a Trail Finder. If you know how a Trail Finder sits with a transmission behind the motor and then the motor spaced out in front of it, it's a very similar setup. This is just what I had to do to fit it in the chassis, because the internal width of the chassis is 2 1/8 of an inch. So based on that, the stock axial transmission was not going to fit in there. That's why it has to be modified. When I added the transmission, I did lose a little bit of ground clearance, but I would say it is less than a quarter inch below the chassis, and no real issues there. Goal is just to keep the motor low, and when you don't have all these wires in the way here, you can easily reach the screws to adjust your pinion mesh on the motor. That was one of my goals, was making it easy to work on all of this stuff. So very easy to adjust that compared to the last transmission I had in here with the planetary box and all of that. I ended up bending the output shaft of the planetary, and that was kind of disappointing, but very happy I decided to switch to the AX10 transmission. Although it's a single speed, it is very nice. So as you can see, there's a lot of adjustable holes and such in the chassis. So you can run this at the Clodbuster wheelbase. That is the longest wheelbase you can run it at, which is, I think, 10 and 7/8 of an inch. So pretty close to 11 inches. And the shortest that you can run it at is 9 and 7/8 inches wheelbase, I believe. You do have to make modifications to do that. It's not just a bolt up. What you'll have to do is get some lower links that are bent inwards so that they don't hit the chassis, or you'll have to cut the chassis and clearance it. But everything else is there to make that possible. The transmission sits in the center of the shortest wheelbase, so that's why the front drive shaft is so much shorter than the rear drive shaft. That way you will have equal length drive shafts if you decide to run it at the shortest wheelbase. I will likely do a very short wheelbase version of this truck for myself, not to sell. But here's the Barrage shocks. They are stiffer than the stock CR12 ones, so they hold up the weight of this better. But on the stock CR12 shocks, you can use Traxxas TRX4 springs, and using those will help you stiffen up your ride height. This strap I'm playing with here is a DSM off-road recovery strap. It's just wrapped around the front bumper mount in here, and then it has this nice hook. And according to local rules, this is the same penalty as you get for using a winch on the course, except this is much easier, less of a hassle, I find. So usually how I run this is just strapped over the truck and then hooked over the rear bumper, just like that. I'm gonna figure out something for the hood still, because I don't want to run the blower on this truck. And other than that, axial drive shafts, you can't run the stock CR12 drive shafts because the axle side of the drive shafts is a 5mm hole in them for the shaft on the axles, and on the transmission side it's only a 4mm. So yes, that does equate for some interesting issues, but these are custom machined wheels that I have put on here. I did these myself. These are my first set of machined wheels, and they use a 3D printed internal ring. Bead locks, of course. I don't like to glue tires just because you can't switch rims down the road if you want to. Basically how these wheels work, I'll go grab the nice one. I have a nice one that hasn't been on the truck yet. Okay, so I got the nice wheel. This is what the nice wheel looks like. The same design as these, same exact design. It just hasn't been driven, so it doesn't have rock rash on it. And how this works is this 3D printed cover is like your hubcap just kind of threads on to the end of the axle shaft. So there you can see your axle nut goes in there, and they are 8 lugs because I really like how 8 lugs look compared to the 6 lug wheels or the 5 lug wheels that are available from RC 4-wheel drive. I just want to do some 6 lug wheels, although these are not scale hardware. It's just some regular cap head stainless steel screws, 2.5 millimeter thread. On the back side, the hex is machined into the wheel, and all of those holes are threaded, so there's no reason to put nuts on the back side. You just screw the screws through, and they work just like an RC 4-wheel drive wagon wheel where they have the internal ring. And then on the back side, it did make the spokes smaller than the outside so that you can't see them, and I think that makes them look very nice. And to get the really shiny finish, I put them on the lathe, which you guys have not seen yet. Late spring, early summer, I got a Harbor Freight lathe. I'm not exactly sure what size it is because I know Harbor Freight makes a bunch of different sizes, but it's been treating me well. That's what I made all the links for the Highway 1 RC truck on, and it works very well for the wheels that I'm doing now. Currently, I'm willing to sell the wheels, but definitely not going to push them onto anybody because they are expensive wheels. The wheels on this truck for a set of 4 is going to cost $150 at least. That's the price that's standing for right now, due to the fact that it takes so long to machine them. I have gotten the machine time down quite a bit from the original time, but I can't take any less than that amount at this moment. So not super competitive with other wheel manufacturers' prices, but I make them myself and it saves me money. So really that's the whole reason why I did them. Plus I think they look really nice, and they're 8 lugs, which would comply with the fact that these axles would likely be 1 tons in real life. This does use a magnetic body mounting system. The way that my body mounting system works, and what I think makes it better than most, is that you have the 2 magnets on, you have a magnet per corner, but then you have this center hole, and then in the center hole on the truck you have a peg that goes into that hole. So the peg takes all of the horizontal movement that the body will experience, so side to side, back and forth, that's all that is taken out on those pegs, and the only force on the body is the lifting force. So for anyone wondering, these are N52 grade magnets, neodymium, something like that, earth magnets. They're the strongest ones I could find, and they're 3/8 inch diameter. I didn't want to make it a very bulky body mounting system, and I definitely did not want to use body pins, so that's why I ended up going with those. Okay, so I'll play for you now the video of machining some custom wheels for a boat trailer project that I'm working on. I'm gonna try to shoot some video of that, but chances are I'm not gonna end up working on it until spring or sometime around then, because I want to build a snowplow for this truck, and that's probably gonna be more important to me this winter than a boat trailer. But here's the video, just time lapse, because I don't think anyone would want to sit through the whole thing. But that's a 1/4-inch bit milling out the whole inside there, and now we're switched to a 1/16 inch bit and back to an 1/8 inch bit. I accidentally shut the light off in there, but the 1/8 inch bit is cutting them out now, and I could grab one of those to show you guys actually on the table behind me. So that's all for that. I'll go ahead and grab one of those to show you as well. These wheels are not finished yet. These are essentially raw off of the machine. I haven't done anything on the lathe yet, except for this back side, machining this back piece down and adding the lip to it. These are going to be for some stock CR12 tires that I'm going to use as trailer tires because they're small. Contrary to common belief, the CR12 tires are not 1.55s, they're 1.7s. So I did discover that while I was measuring for these wheels. They are 1.7-inch tires. But here you go. That's how they look. I decided to go for like a 10-hole design, 5-spoke. These will also be getting some nice hubcaps on them. And on the back side, I just decided to do spokes because of the fact that I didn't want to be able to see different layers of material. If I did the same 10-hole design on the back, you'd be able to see the mating surface of where the front and back side come together. So by doing the spokes, it's more difficult to notice that it's a 2-piece wheel. The whole reason that I decided to make custom wheels for the trailer is that I'm going to be making some bearing hubs for them eventually, and doing bearing hubs so that they will roll smoothly. Even on some of the RC 4-wheel drive trailers, the wheels are not screwed tightly, or they're screwed tightly and they wobble. Actually, the reason I made those bearing hubs, probably last year at this point, last summer, I made those bearing hubs for a customer with an RC 4-wheel drive trailer because of the wobble. So by being able to make my own wheels, it's much easier to make a hub for that wheel and make it roll smoothly. So that's why I decided to do that. I'll be making the entire trailer myself, mainly with a machined frame. I'm thinking the main frame is probably going to be 1/4-inch aluminum, and everything else, at this point, I'll have to 3D print to prototype it all and make sure it fits correctly. And then once I get that done, I can machine the parts and braze it together if I want to, or screw it together. I'm not sure which yet. I'll have to make that decision when I get to that point. And I'm going to try and do 3D printed leaf springs. One of the people at the local competitions this winter had a small Bantam or utility trailer, and that had 3D printed leaf springs on it, and I was really impressed because they were soft enough that the trailer actually had some action to it. Not like if you put a trailer on Trail Finder leaf springs, usually what will happen is the trailer looks very stiff. And I'm going to be building this trailer for the ProBoat Voliere 22 should look pretty good behind one of these square body trucks, although this is the very built up one that I have. I'll probably be doing a more scale build eventually. This one was just I had to get this done very quickly for some local competitions. I didn't want to run any of my other trucks. I wanted to be able to run this so I can test it and prove it, and I guess show it off to people, because it is definitely my prized truck at the moment. So, CR12 upgrades, I can go ahead and show some of those off as well. So this is my remaining CR12 on a factory chassis. Everything that's done on this truck so far is the front and rear bumpers. These are 3D printed by me, and they're not released for sale yet, but I'll make sure to get them up for sale quickly here, just as a cheaper option than the aluminum ones, and they are tougher than the stock factory plastic bumpers because everyone breaks those. So what's happening with this truck, it definitely doesn't look like the performance package a lot of you guys know and many of you have installed on your CR12. This is a 540 size motor performance package. The way that this works is it uses a skid plate, similar design to the one that I have on my Terramite chassis, but this is also for the AX10 transmission. So the links are captured here in the bottom, so you don't have to screw from the inside out anymore. You just screw from the outside, which is much more convenient. You do get an aluminum battery tray and electronics tray like you get on the Terramite chassis. But the whole purpose of doing this was because I have some customers that are putting large and larger tires on the CR12s, and really from what I found, you lose a lot of your torque when you go from this tire up to Mud Thrasher tire, which is what I was running. So for a size comparison, you guys, it's about a 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch taller tire, and a much larger surface. These are really narrow stock tires, but these are Mud Thrashers are wider tires. So from my personal experience, the 370 size motor, 380 size motor that these come with is not sufficient enough to turn these. So that's why I ended up doing this. It's essentially a whole step up from the regular performance package, because you're going to end up buying the performance package from me, which will include the standard front steering geometry whole deal, where you get this front mount, you get the track bar mount that goes on the axle side, and then you get the new steering link, which goes right here. I still have to put a new steering link on this truck, but past that, the whole performance package is changed, because you're going to end up with this skid plate in the middle for mounting the AX10 transmission. You get the electronics tray, the aluminum electronics tray, a radio box here, and what am I forgetting? At this price point, you have to buy the AX10 transmission, which is the AX10 transmission is around $50, and you can get the Wild Boar drive shafts from me for $50, because not only do the drive shafts need to be shortened for length, because the wheelbase on this is incredibly short, but you also need to make some modifications to the U-joints of these trucks. So this is an axial U-joint that I have here, and this lip that sticks out the end here, you have to sand that off. For $50, if you buy the drive shafts from me, I'll cut them down to size and sand this lip off for you. The whole reason the lip needs to be sanded off is the outputs on the CR12 axles. As you can see, if you look at the pin here where it goes through the drive shaft, the pin is very close to the axle housing. And then you put, this next to it, and you can see that that lip is too long. So if you just try to stick these on here like normal, you will not be able to get the pin through. So this will likely be going up on the website soon. I'm gonna make a installation video of that whole package that's gonna be getting put together. Because I have two brand new AX10 transmissions, so this way I'll be able to build it and show people how to build one. Because people that are gonna be building these are gonna have to buy this. The other thing that you do get with this package, I knew I was forgetting something, you get that whole motor mounting assembly that I showed you on the Terramite chassis. The motor mount assembly is required because this chassis is very narrow like the Terramite chassis. And the only modification you have to make to your truck is this front cross member. You need to cut this, because normally there's a piece that goes in between right here. You have to cut that out, otherwise the motor hits it. It's the same cross members in the rear here, so you can see where it was cut. But other than that, I don't really have a lot happening. I've kind of reached the end of what I want to do with the CR12 chassis, because working with this chassis, now that I have my own, I feel very limited as to the way this chassis was designed and compared to the way that I designed my chassis ahead of time. So I think unless I get a customer request, like this whole 540 thing was a customer request ordeal, so I decided to go ahead and do that. But yeah, I'm gonna be working on some snowplows for the Terramite chassis. I only have one Terramite chassis out to a customer yet, Michael Baker. Some of you might have seen him on the live stream before, but he was a very dedicated follower in the build of the chassis, and I think he wanted one from the very beginning. We were talking and passing ideas back and forth, as well as my friend Ty Stacy. Ty Stacy is Trust Tie Customs that makes the winches I was talking about, and he was a good help in this too, as far as making all the technical stuff work out. So yeah, that's what I got going on so far. The only update to, say, the performance package is this aluminum track bar mount right here. That is going to be added to all these. You get an aluminum track bar mount now. It doesn't mount to the top of the axle anymore, just at this one point, and then wraps around there. How these are made now is it's machined to bend, and then I bend that little tab forward, and then I braze that so that it has a strong joint there and it won't bend on you. So I made that update because a customer managed to crack one, but that's no big deal. I can go ahead and show you guys the body on the truck. There you go. So here's how the bumpers look. You can get a receiver hitch for these. I have machined one. I haven't machined one for this bumper, but I machined one for a customer and sent that out to him. I can even try to break these bumpers on camera for you guys, but they're quite strong. So, as you can tell by that, I have actually bent the bumper, but very strong. It's not like the factory bumpers where they're hollow on the inside. I've made the adjustments to these where the wall thickness is very thick, so they're very strong bumpers. I would not doubt them. So as you can see here, that's a good example of why the wall thickness matters on your 3D printed parts. If we go to this part, you can see wall thickness is the amount of prints that the printer outlines the outside of this part. And on this bumper, it looks like 2 outside perimeter passes, and that's why this bumper broke. It only had 2. Most people only adjust the infill of your 3D printed parts, while for strength, I believe it's more important to be adjusting the wall thickness of your parts. So there you can see how much of the bumper is actually hollow. And this bumper and the front bumper have the same exact infill. The infill is just how much it fills in the inside of the bumper, but the rear bumper, this is the production one, this is a prototype. The rear bumper has a wall thickness of 5, so you can see how many times the printer went around this outside. So that wall is probably close to 1/8 of an inch thick of solid plastic, while this is easily smaller than 1/16 of an inch around that outside perimeter. So that's why this bumper is so much stronger than the other ones. So a little tip for you guys, if you're doing 3D printing, wall thickness matters for the bumpers, and anything that's going to be a structural component is that wall thickness is important to strength. So I think that's everything that I have to talk about as far as projects go tonight. As you can tell, I will likely be building a snowplow for these trucks. Since I can make the trucks, it's a lot cheaper for me. Especially being able to make the plow, it's cheaper for me. But I really do like these square bodies. The performance of the truck is a lot better than I had ever imagined. I never thought it would work as well as it was going to, but I did get a tip from another semi-local guy. His name is Lucas Banks. He puts on some of the events in the semi-local area, and he told me to raise the rear link mounting positions, so I ended up having to do that anyways. I'll go ahead and show you more things to talk about. So the upper link mounting positions on here from a stock CR12 have been raised about 1/4 inch, and I did also make the adjustments to keep the pinion angle correct when I adjusted that up 1/4 inch, so you don't have to adjust any of the links. Essentially how this works is you just bolt on all the CR12 parts and it's just an extended wheelbase. But the raised rear link mounting positions, when the truck is going uphill in a wheelie almost, the front end is actually being torqued down, and I've never had a truck that was torquing the front end of the truck down into the ground. Most of my other trucks, once you get the front wheels up and the rear wheels can get under those, it just tries to flip it right back on its back. So by doing that, it really helped with performance, I think, and it's just a really very impressive truck to drive, as well as the low center of gravity, because the transmission sits low in it. The motor sits higher than it would on this transmission normally, but overall the transmission sits lower, if that makes sense to anyone. So the motor is probably at a fairly similar position to an SCX-10, but slightly higher, and then the battery being in the center position, you get good weight on the rear wheels. I really, a lot of people pressure the front weight bias, but I like to keep a truck that's slightly heavier in the front, but still has weight on the rear wheels, because if you don't have any weight on the rear wheels, when you come down a hill, what happens is it just wants to topple over on itself. My Trailfinder really likes to topple over on itself, just because you have the motor so far forward, and then you have the heavy motor, and then the transfer case. Although the battery is positioned back in the back of the truck, there's really no weight beyond that. So the Trailfinder does like to kind of topple over on itself a little bit. But anyways, guys, I think that's all I have for now. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm going to be putting up some more videos as I get the parts ready for production, and maybe some other things. I might just do an official overview video of this truck, because I know not everybody's going to watch this live stream. And I'm going to do some work on the Highway 1 RC truck so that you can see what's happening with that. I haven't done any video on that yet. I actually filmed making the links for the Barrage chassis, because I made a whole set of extended links to work with the Barrage chassis. And once I did that, the body fitted the wheelbase correctly, but beyond that, the Clodbuster body on the Barrage chassis was just going to be a pretty major hassle to work out, and it's just going to save time and money to go with the custom chassis overall, for me at least. But thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not following me on Facebook, find the Facebook page, Extreme RC 4x4. We have Instagram as well now. And RC Crawler, Extreme RC 4x4 is now an official vendor of RC Crawler. So go check us out over there and help with any of your RC needs. My email is extremerc4x4@gmail.com. So if you're interested in anything you see here, make sure you send me an email. If it's not on the website yet, I'd be happy to help you find it. But thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.